Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on this edition of the English Newscast and Camday's Television for this Tuesday, August 10, 2021. Let's begin with our bullet points. 2 kidnappers who raped and extorted money from an 18-year-old girl have come to the end of the road. They were presented to the press this Tuesday. In connection to the numerous road accidents in the country, severe sanctions await defaulters, says Minister Jean Endes Ngale Masena Bibehe. The draws for the 2021 AFCON will take place on August 17, 2021 at the Conference Center. In prelude to the draws, our guest on this edition of the news is Tabby Clarkson. These and more will be yours in this edition of the news. Let's begin the news by taking you over to the southwest region of the country to see that the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, Georges Elanga Obam, has chaired 2 occasions in the seaside city, the town of Friendship, Limbe, in the southwest region of the country. Minister Georges Elanga Obam chaired the African Day of Decentralization and Local Development and the African Day of Civil Registration and Statistics. The following report has an in-depth of this story. It was at the jungle village in the seaside city Limbe where municipal and administrative authorities converged to celebrate the 10th edition of the African Day of Decentralization and Local Development and the African Day of Civil Status Registration and Vital Statistics. During the occasion, chaired by the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, Georges Elanga Obam, the city mayor of Limbe, Andrew Mutamba Munjimba, in his welcome address said Limbe is the enfant chéri of President Paul Biya. He also thanked Minister Georges Elanga Obam for choosing his municipality for the occasion. In his presentation, the General Manager of the Council Support Fund for Mutual Assistance, FECOM, Philip Camille Akwa, talked on the financial assistance qualities to councils nationwide. He also assured municipal authorities nationwide that FECOM's management complies with the quality management system. Stressing on the mission and actions of the National Civil Status Registration, the Deputy General Manager Abdoulaye Ajali Buka explained what his organization does to promote and support local authorities of the Southwest region. He also called on mayors in the restive regions to help internally displaced persons in their councils to reconstitute their lost civil status documents. According to the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development, Georges Elanga Obam, this day is an opportunity for local and regional authorities to brainstorm on how to use culture and heritage to strengthen job creation in Cameroon. And now we take you over to the nation's economic capital, Douala, to say that the president of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement for Wuri Division, Pierre Titi, has cautioned militants of the party to choose their leaders to run the affairs of the party for the next 5 years wisely. Pierre Titi was speaking yesterday, Monday, August 9th, while chairing a meeting at the party's secretariat at Bonanjo in prelude to the renewal of the basic organs of the CPDM. Ruth Fonyong has more in this report.
Following the calendar established by the General Secretary of the Central Committee of the CPDM, the renewing process of the Basic Bureau was launched this August 9, 2021 at the Party House in Bonanjo, in the economic capital of Cameroon, by the President of the Divisional Commission for the Wuri, Pierre Titi, an event in prelude to the internal elections of the party in power.
We are in a process of an eminent democracy, and it's one person, one voice. Before, it was leaders of organs who declared, but today, tomorrow, and always, it shall be all the militants of the little cell of Mbokmeka to the big cells.
The main objective of this operation is to constitute teams of local leaders to replace those who went into service on January 5, 2016, who are fully conscious of their role in the CPDM and projections for the future, and the full involvement in the achievement of their goals in the years. Renewing in the CPDM does not mean chasing people away. It means bringing new support to the CPDM. It means to beckon on the support of friends through others who want to bring their contribution towards the work of the CPDM, who want to take up their responsibilities, and we think that looking forward to uphold a task is a legitimate responsibility. These elections intervene after the validation operations of the political summit, which permitted the president's party to arrange the executive bureau of the basic organs. At the end of this exercise, the bureau members of the CPDM section shall work in the field to preserve what they have acquired, consolidate the supremacy of the CPDM on other parties in order to better the lives of people.
And from the littoral region, we carry you over to Nkang Samba to say that to respect and apply the provisions of or the provisions contained in the circular by the national president of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CPDM, the Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Massenangale Bibehe, was in Nkang Samba, where he chaired a meeting in prelude to the renewal of the basic organs of the party, as Geraldine Nase tells us in this report.
The process of renewing the CPDM offices of the basic organs after the Fundi, the members of the departmental commission met in Mongo in order to ensure the proper understanding of the directives of the hierarchy party. The stakes did not leave anyone out, as the Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Massenangale Bibihe, who today chaired a meeting with the promoters of travel agencies. This comes as a result of the accidents that occurred on the 4th and 5th of August 2021, which caused the death of 40 people and many injured.
It is a meeting of great importance for the harmonious organization of our operations, for the renewal of the offices of the basic organs. This is the reason why we do not doubt for a single moment that you have been well inspired with it.
The president of the commission during this meeting, however, called on the audience to respect the circular and the reorganization made by the national president and its application.
I would like to say that the departmental commission is held with provisions to accompany you, to bring you all the necessary support. The progress of these operations take place under very good qualities. We will therefore be counting on your good faith to ensure that this operation ends well.
There is therefore no doubt that in September 30, 2021, the 377 sections will be given new officials to replace those in the Flame Party, a dynamic which has enabled it to hold its leadership role in the country in a long term and with dignity.
The Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Massenangale Bibehe, has presided over a press conference this Tuesday, August 10, in the nation's capital city, Yaoundé, in connection to the numerous road accidents in the country. During the press conference in Yaoundé, he presented some decisions that will go a long way to curb the numerous road accidents in the country. And Omeko, in the following report, says he frowned at drivers who violate highway codes. Her report.
Time has come for actions to take place, actions and decisions that will go a long way to avoid the increasing rate of accidents on our highways. To make this come true, a press conference has been held at the Ministry of Transport to dish out some decisions imposed like the constant check on vehicles, physical and moral state of the drivers, filling of a form to justify some of these by the chief of agencies, who will be held responsible in case of any accident.
What is happening in Cameroon here is because professionals are not involved. So we want them to work with professionals. These decisions they are taking are good decisions. The minister is taking good decisions. And what we want is we should put them practically on the field so that those who are instating and they are going out of the way will be punished. You see in Cameroon, you go visit technique with cars that are spoiled. They have them, they remove money and pay.
Frequent payment of workers is very necessary.
Most of these proprietors, they invite, they don't pay salaries to their workers. If you don't pay salaries to your workers, those workers cannot deliver the goods. Some of them are angry. So I want a working session between the ministry to check and see whether workers are being paid. Because a driver will not drive a 70-seater bus for 1 month. And you expect that driver that you are owing him for 2 months. How is he paying his rent?
Security officers should stop a bribery.
The security that is on the road. When you come, a driver is overloading a car and remove 500 francs and give to the security on the road. It does not work like that.
There is hope that things will get better if and only the government is willing to work with professionals. According to some participants, there is hope that things will certainly get better if and only the government is willing to work with professionals.
A Memorandum of Understanding has been signed this Tuesday, August 10, at the Conference Hall of the Ministry of Wildlife and Forestry between the said ministry and the Zoological Garden of Prague, the capital of Czech Republic. This is done to establish a framework of collaborations under the auspices of the Minister Jules Dorendongo in order to provide support to the government of Cameroon. This company has been in Cameroon for over 10 years, and it has been 10 years of awareness of young school children and the preservation of wildlife species such as the gorilla and the pangolin. Take a listen to an excerpt of the Minister Jules Dorendongo, specially selected for us by Ruth Fonyo.
Prague Zoo has expressed its intention to establish a framework for collaboration with the ministry under my responsibility to provide support for the development of zoological gardens in Cameroon and environmental education for the general public, and particularly the youth, in issues relating to the safeguarding of endangered wildlife species through the Bus Ambulant project, as well as the protection of biodiversity and sustainable use of wildlife resources through joint projects and programs. Permit me to remind you that Prague Zoo has been working with the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife for about 10 years in the field of raising awareness and education of young school children on the preservation of endangered wildlife species such as the gorilla and pangolin within the framework of the Bus Ambulant project, which is based at the Jar Wildlife Reserve in Somalomo. Since 2013, this project has enabled young school children in the project zone, and particularly young Baka students, to learn about the preservation of wildlife and forest biodiversity through numerous field trips and discussions with other school children in the Yaoundé, Kribi, Douala and Limbe urban areas. As you can see, this request by the Czech party is also based on the history which traces their presence on the ground. In this process, meetings devoted to the examination of the said projects were held. These meetings helped to refine the legal instrument which was previously submitted to the high approval of the head of state before its signature by the parties.
As you heard in one of our late stories, 2 young boys accused of kidnapping and raping an 18-year-old girl have been arrested and presented to the press this August 10, 2021. After abusing their captive sexually, these boys succeeded to extort the sum of 300,000 CFA francs from the victim's family. After due investigation, the police succeeded to arrest the victims. And Omeko has an in-depth of the story.
Mayon Kabate Melvin, 23 years, and Edang Mbarga Jean, 22 years old, respectively, are 2 suspected young Cameroonians presented to the press August 10, 2021 for kidnapping and raping an 18-year-old girl called Erica. A lodged complaint required prompt intervention.
Immediately, we have started our investigation. However, without our consent and without our knowledge, since the parents of the victim were, paranoid and anxious, they decided to pay the ransom of 300,000, and the kidnapper released the victim.
The release of the victim did not quench the determination of the police to arrest the kidnappers.
We have located the kidnappers not far from Fou, at the Ndon village, and we have arrested the 2 kidnappers.
The suspects will have to face the law court.
We have informed the prosecutor of the Republic. The law will be said. The law will be said, and the court will decide what to do.
With the increasing rate of insecurity, the population has been schooled to call the police on 1500 or 117 when faced with suspicious cases.
And now we take you over to the south region of the country, where the town of Kribi has played host to the first extraordinary General Assembly of Surveyors and Topographers of Cameroon. Several reasons are the origin of the creation of the Union of Surveyors and Topographers of Cameroon, where aims are at claiming their rights in the country, as Anne Omeko tells us in the following report.
The topographic surveyors who do not have the names registered in the Cameroonian Surveyor Order grind a black in the exercise of their function. Unfortunately, they are most often the laughingstock of the applicants taken to court in the event of non-delivery of the work on time due to the breaches beyond their control. Most of them are thrown in prison without the national order intervening in their value, with so many evils obliging the surveyors to unite in trade union to defend their rights.
The fact that it gives us the possibility to complete our national office and to complete our different divisional and regional offices. I would like to say that it is a stepping stone towards unity without distinctions, regardless of our grade nor functions. It is time to leave behind our differences to better unite as topographers.
The first extraordinary General Assembly held last Saturday in the town of Kribi was definitely an opportunity for these topographic technicians to set up an office and dismantling who will work for the revision of the law that governs their functions, qualified absolute.
All geometers in Cameroon are obliged to get registered through 98% of geometers in Cameroon are not registered due to the fact that there are some conditions that stipulate that To be registered and have a diploma as an engineer, you must have advanced level +5.
The work was chaired by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, represented here, prescribed respect for ethics while stressing that we remain free behind bars.
If you're just joining us, you're watching the 6 p.m. newscast on Camdis Television in the English language. As you heard in one of our late stories, the draws for the 2021 African Cup of Nations that Cameroon will be hosting will take place on August 17th, 2021 at the Conference Center in the nation's capital city, Yaoundé. In prelude to the draw, we have our guest in the program. Good evening, Tabby Clarkson.
Good evening, Bertrand Tita. How are you today?
I'm good. You are here to talk about the African Cup of Nations, especially the draws that will take place on the 17th of August 2021. How will the event look like?
Of course, it will be a big moment. A big moment given that it will be the second time that Cameroon is hosting the event. For the very first time that Cameroon hosted the event, it was in 1972. We had just 8 participating teams, with 2 sides, one in Douala and one, of course, here in Yaoundé. That is with the Yaoundé Omispor or the Yaoundé Amadou Aïdjo Stadium and the Douala Reunification Stadium, of course, in Douala. We had just 8 teams, and of course, Cameroon did not win that competition because Cameroon was eliminated at the semi-finals by Congo. So I want to believe that it's a big moment because 51 years after, we are of course organizing this event. 51 years after we're organizing this big event, and believe me, Bertrand Tita, believe me, it's a big event, as I said earlier, and that is why, because countries will be coming all over Africa, all over the world. We shall have at least 24 delegations, coaches and captains. We shall have big names. We have big football nations like Nigeria, Algeria, Egypt that will be taking part in the event. As I said earlier, we shall have Boya Limber. We shall have, that is 5 places where all 5 towns will be hosting the event. Boya Limber, we have Garwa, we have Bafoussam. We shall equally have Yaoundé. And of course, you see Douala Japoma and Douala, the Reunification Stadium. So of course, it's a big event, and the draws will actually determine who will play where and at what time.
In prelude to that, the Minister of Sport and Physical Education, Narcisse Moelle-Kambi, visited the conference center today. What can you say about that?
Yes, he visited the conference center because the conference center is where the event will actually take place. I'm talking of the draws. The draws is an important moment that will actually mark, I will say, the beginning of this 2021 African Cup of Nations that Cameroon will host, of course, in January and February in towns and cities across Cameroon. It's a big moment. Why? Because many Cameroonians were skeptical that will Cameroon finally organize the competition or not? But the draws will be a big signal that alas, we shall actually have the draws. And the Yaoundé Conference Center, the T's are being cut and the I's are being dotted to give the ceremony the grandeur it actually deserves. Believe me, the Minister of Sports, Narcisse Moelle-Kambi, was there this morning. He will be there again tomorrow and even on Friday to make sure that everything is perfect before the D-Day comes, the 17th of August, 2021.
And before I let you go, I understand you are the Director of Information of Camdis Television. As big as you say the event will be, will Camdis Television take part in the event?
Of course, we know Camdis Television is a Republican channel. And being a Republican channel, we cannot be on the sideline of such an event. Camdis will be at the center of it. It's true that the national television, the CRTV, has exclusive rights, but believe me, Camdis will be, of course, at the center of this event, be it at the Yaoundé Conference Center, be it here even at the base. We shall organize a series of programs to make our viewers actually witness the draws. A historic moment, not only for Cameroon, but equally for Africa, because, believe me, as I said earlier, this is the second time that we are organizing this football bonanza, African football bonanza, but we have won the competitions on 7 occasions.
Thank you very much, Tabi Clarkson, for being a guest on this edition of the news, talking on the draws of the AFCON 2021 that Cameroon will host. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is here that the curtain draws for this edition of the news in the Queen's language. But before we part companies, we remind you of our top stories. 2 kidnappers who raped and extorted money from an 18-year-old girl have come to the end of the road. They were presented to the press this Tuesday, August 10. In connection to the numerous road accidents in the country, severe sanction awaits defaulters, says Minister Jean-Ernest Ngale Masena Bibehe. The draws for the 2021 African Cup of Nations will take place on August 17th, 2021 at the Conference Center. It is here that we part companies for this edition of the news for this Tuesday, August 10th, 2021. Meet Jean-Jacques Zé at 8 p.m. for the news in the French language. I'll be with you tomorrow at 6 p.m. for another edition. But stay tuned to more interesting programs on Camdi's television. Good evening and goodbye for now.